keeps giving us an alarm. When that alarm goes off, the autopilot just turns off. So I'm gonna have to investigate that. Looks like we might do some hand steering today. We are on our way to St. Michael's. Traditionally, the people that live there made their living out on the Chesapeake.
St. Michael's is so pretty so far.
The Dove is a reproduction of one of the first two ships to settle first colony in Maryland.
It's so cool to just see it is so beefy.
These are the Chesapeake Bay Skipjack sailors.
I'm Desiree.
And I'm Jordan. And this is Captain Oso, the little dude.
7 years ago, we bought a super neglected, really small sailboat that we called Atticus with the dream of seeing the world. Over the next 7 years, we spent a lot of time fixing up Atticus. But we also did boat work for money in Mexico, traded lobster for rum in Cuba, and lived off-grid in Panama during the pandemic.
Recently, we upgraded to our dream sailboat, Atticus 2, and we're currently exploring the Chesapeake Bay on our way to North Carolina, where we hope to wrap up our boat projects before sailing for the Caribbean. This is a beautiful day. We really lucked out. It's not even all that cold.
No, it feels great. It feels like summer again, which is great because me being the perfect dog owner decided to give Oso a little trim recently. I ended up cutting Oso's hair way too short, and so he's just like walking around deck like, ugh. How's it, baby? Are you freezing? Or are you just sleepy? He looks like a completely different dog now also. I feel like he looks more like a Chihuahua, so we've been calling him Taco Bell.
Yo quiero Taco Bell.
Yo quiero Taco Bell. Ay, Chihuahua.
One tricky thing about this area is that there are a lot of big ships that come through here, and they come through really fast. So one moment, you'll kind of look around and there's nothing near you, but then if you keep an eye on AIS, you're like, oh, in literally 7 minutes, that big cruise ship is gonna be on top of us. I think I figured it out. This is the best way to handle the autopilot failing.
We're back to foot steering.
Back to foot steering, yeah.
Looks like whatever they're fishing out there, a lot of boats got the memo. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 15 boats on the horizon right now. The sun is like baking my back, and it feels so good. It's weird to be saying that because usually I'm like, the sun, it burns. But it's cool to be in a location where when the sun hits you, it feels good.
All right, so we got 45 minutes to go.
Yeah?
Yes.
Oh.
Why are you being so lovey?
Because I had a fun day.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was so pretty. And I got to nuzz Oso a lot. Come here, my nuzz prisoner. Oh, I love you so
much. Man, it's so pretty back here. It's just glass, blue skies. Everything is kind of orange with the sunset.
Your wife's looking good.
Wife's looking good.
Be free. You want this one? Oh, maybe you want this one. Oh, maybe you want this one. Maybe you want this one. Maybe it's this way. Maybe it's this way.
What do you think of this marina, bud?
Oh my God, it's so nice. I've never seen dock space with just like all this grass area to just run around in.
Yeah.
I guess I never appreciated that before Oso either.
Yeah, you're like, look at all this grass.
Oh, the grass. And I just feel really happy today.
Yeah.
We've heard that St. Michael's is just a super cute little town, the kind of place where you walk in and everyone says hello. So I'm excited to explore a little bit. Where you going, little boy, huh? Good baby, yeah.
You escaping, little guy?
Oh my gosh, I think this is the cutest little pedestrian bridge I've ever seen in my life. St. Michael's is so pretty so far.
Okay, come. Did you get a leaf stuck on you? Huh? Did you get a leaf stuck on your nose?
We've been living in the tropics so long that I never thought I would appreciate fall so much. Well, this has been an incredible morning walk, getting to explore St. Michael's. It has such a beautiful, quaint vibe to it with touches of nautical themes and its oystering heritage and also a lot of Maryland pride. So it's just so gorgeous. I'm excited to continue checking this place out. Here we are at the beautiful Chesapeake Bay Maritime Museum, and one of the reasons we came to St. Michael's was to check out this museum.
Now, the first acquisition of the museum was our lighthouse. The reason we have it is because the Coast Guard declared all of these cottage-style lighthouses surplus because they could automate the aids to navigation, and you and your travelers have seen very few actual lighthouses except if they're on rocks. These pilings were screwed into the bay mud, and if you come over here, you'll see this auger would tip the pilot, and they would screw it into the bay mud. And men would get around in a turnstile and drive it into the bay. So if ice was pounding against these pilings, it wouldn't just pop out.
Yeah.
It might move a lot, but it wouldn't pop out.
Wow, look at that. It's like the size of my body.
Yeah.
This is a chart of all the lighthouses on the bay.
Oh, yeah.
And you can see a lot of them are the cottage-style lighthouses.
Yeah.
Some are screw piles, some aren't.
So then the one that we saw is that one? Yeah.
Marks the shoal, Thomas Point Shoal.
Cool.
Two guys worked in this lighthouse. Of course, since they're away from land, this was the source of water. It came off the roof. And then they'd have to purify this because there's other things on the roof of a lighthouse, as you might imagine. So they introduced powdered chalk in, which would precipitate it all out, and then they'd boil the water probably. But for food, they'd be resupplied by the lighthouse service or passing fishermen that buy fish, oysters, whatever they could find.
Oh, and then so you had your own room.
Yeah, you had your own room, your closet, all your gear here. In times of bad weather, you have to make sure the light is working. And your bell, these are the weights for the bell, wound up like your grandfather's clock. During times of bad visibility, fog or snow, heavy rain, you'd have to ring this thing. So this is the winder for the weights. The bell's out there. So, and here's the third order Fresnel lens I talked about. And really, it was an engineering marvel. I said it was made by a physicist, a French physicist, because each of these prisms is at a different angle with the goal of focusing a source of light inside out.
Gotcha. So there's a single light source, but yet every piece of the glass make it go in one direction.
Yeah, it's kind of all bent that way. The Dove is a reproduction of one of the first two ships to settle first colony in Maryland, St. Mary's City. And they arrived in 1634. The Dove came with another boat called the Ark. The Ark carried all the passengers. The Dove was a supply ship that sailed along with it. The Dove was to stay with the colony and trade on its behalf for a year, 18 months, and then head back to England with goods to trade on behalf of the new colony. And on its way back, somewhere between here and England, it was lost at sea. So the state of Maryland has commissioned the museum to build a new Maryland Dove.
The Dove, da-da-da.
Yeah.
You can see what we finished, right? All of the planking up until sort of the bulwark area. And then we've attached 17,000 pounds of lead ballast bolted it to the bottom of the keel. A merchant ship back in the day, on the crew there would have been a professional ballaster. They would have been in charge of, okay, now we have a load of cotton, change the ballast around that needs to be done. Okay, now we've got a load of like rum, got to change the ballast. This is a Coast Guard certified vessel. So instead of having all that ballast kind of in the hold somewhere, casting the lead and then bolting it to the bottom of the keel was a good thing to do. The stem is all live oak, a very beautiful, huge piece of live oak that came out of. Below the water line is Angelique, which is a tropical hardwood. Above that is white oak, and then above the big whale is all going to be cedar, so getting lighter as we go up.
Oh, yeah.
On a carvel boat, you've got caulking or corking. Cotton goes first, because cotton will smush down smaller and really get into those seams, making little, nice little loops, like tucks like that. right? It's an extra added like safety measure for keeping the boat watertight. Now we're up on deck. We've completed the decking on the main deck, and then Zach's working on finishing up the quarter deck. These posts here are going to house the barrel for the ankle windlass. That's a mini version of it.
Oh, yeah. This fits into 2 bearings, I guess.
Yeah, the posts. So, and then these little Osage orange pieces are like the bearings. This will have beeswax wrapped up in here, so then it'll flow really nicely.
You could just fit like a rod or something in here that you could physically push, and then that pawl, as it rotates, it moves, slips, and then drops in here. So that way, if you were to release the pressure, it would stop there.
And this is where they'd steer from. So you got your quarter deck, so they'd steer from here, big giant tiller.
Going into the hold, buddy. That's so cool to just see. It is so beefy. Just these giant frames. And so these are bolted to each other, bolted to the planks.
They're actually trunneled.
Trunneled, okay.
Yeah, so like if you think of it like a tree nail or a dowel.
Yeah, they slice it,
Yep.
and then they run something in there like a shim.
Yep, spreads that end grain.
Yeah.
And kind of keeps it from moving.
That's
Not
so
that these
cool.
would move anyways, because live oak moves a lot. We found that when you were drilling, for the trunnel, you couldn't go take a 5-minute break. You needed to immediately like put that trunnel in because the wood's like moving already, and so if you did take a break, you'd have to re-drill.
This is all Dove. This is the Dove rigging shop. So we built the spars in here about a year ago. All of these blocks last winter. We built the standing rigging. It's all synthetic, right-hand laid 3-strand polyester that has the inner yarns of each strand are Dyneema.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And so how much of, like, say, the tarring, is that just so that aesthetically it looks like it would have, or does it serve a function with the modern materials?
It does serve a function. It also adds UV protection to the material.
Got it.
This tar is synthetic and is actually designed for the commercial fishing industry. It's called net coat. If you follow rigging trends in contemporary rigging, where we're getting back to soft materials, Dyneema, high modulus materials, there's been huge material advancements, but we're kind of going back to some of the methods of rigging that you would see in this period. This vessel does not have one designer. We have an architect, and then we have a design team, as well as a consulting archaeologist, Fred Hocker, who works at the Vasa Museum in Sweden. And he's looked at smaller coasting vessels like the Dove, not just war vessels or large naval vessels that get more research. Even in the time period, obviously, there was a little bit more academic, intellectual effort put into developing those vessels versus inland or coasting vessels that are maybe a little bit more vernacular or a little less studied, which is how we like to think of the Dove. The Dove was a purchased coasting vessel, not a vessel that was commissioned to be built for this transatlantic voyage. So she would have been something that would just be common, just a totally common, familiar type of vessel, but deemed just seaworthy enough to make the voyage, but to have handling characteristics to allow her to navigate our fairly shallow rivers in Chesapeake Bay.
The Skipjack sail the waters of Chesapeake Bay. They put tasty oysters on 20th century half shells while their children learn the ways of the computer age. These are the Chesapeake Bay Skipjack sailors, who by law must dredge for oysters under sail.
So this is the skipjack in the early 20th century, so it's one of the earlier skipjacks. When they legalized dredging on the bay back in the 1860s, they legalized it but said you can't have a powered boat. And in the 1860s, that would have meant a steam-powered boat. That would make it too efficient, so it was a conservation method. After the invention of this gasoline engine and you could use them in boats, they had a small yawl boat back here just to help them get in and out of harbor. In 1965, they said, well, the industry's kind of tough. We're going to give you a break, and you can push dredge for oysters. You don't have to raise your sail, and you can do it twice a week. But it's got to push a heavy dredge boat, dragging 2 dredges through the oyster grounds. So it's got to be pretty husky. Sail-wise, this has a tremendous sail, tremendous boom. A lot of sail power for a boat this size. But it was hard work. It was hard work in tough weather, cold weather. So it depends on how you load the oysters. And as a buyer of oysters, I want a lot of oysters in my bushel because I'm paying good money for it.
Yeah.
As a seller, I want to sell a lot of bushels, so I want fewer oysters. These are on end. You see that? That makes fewer oysters per bushel.
Yeah.
These are more horizontal.
Yeah, so this one has 120 oysters, and this one has 81 oysters in the same space. Those are the bushels that they would load them
These are
into.
the bushels. This is an oyster buy boat. During the dredge season, what they would do would anchor out in the dredge grounds, and one of the dredge boats would be dredging oysters, and they'd come alongside, and the Winniestel would buy the oysters bushel by bushel, hence buy boat, B-U-Y.
And
Yeah.
was part of the reason for that because the skipjacks had to be operated under sail?
Yeah, it would take them so long to get back to the packing house. So
Yeah.
it'd be better for the buy boat to do that. 1950 off of Poplar Island, we have bug eyes and skipjacks still sailing. And they're dredging this oyster bar. And nobody's going this way because everybody's got dredges out. They're going this way or that way.
But after many years, the graceful skipjack still sail the bay, and a vanishing breed has certainly not yet quite vanished.